I transmigrated into a female-oriented novel as a tribulation transcendence realm expert, only to be framed by my junior brother for stealing his foundation establishment pill. And they want to put me on trial? Seriously, who gave you the audacity? In response, I can only tearfully offer up the myriad soul banner. Hurry, the human sovereign flag, and reluctantly transform them into strands of primordial purple energy so dark they're almost black. Xiao Qiyu, are you still not admitting your mistake? My head is a little fuzzy, looking at the unfamiliar scene and people before me. What's going on? A hoarse reprimand rang out, drawing my attention. Directly in front of me, 3 elders in dark-colored Taoist robes sat regally on high, their expressions grave, staring intently at me. And on both sides of the hall stood men and women in various disciple uniforms, all their gazes fixed on me without concealment. Who am I? Where am I? What am I supposed to do? Xiao Qiyu? Are they calling me? Then a snippet of a novel I'd read flashed through my mind. In the original story, Xiao Qiyu was falsely accused by his junior sister by Che of stealing the Foundation establishment pill, and unable to defend himself, he was ultimately stripped of his heaven-connecting cultivation, thrown into the bottom of a dark and sunless cold pool, and imprisoned to death. I suddenly looked up, Ive transmigrated, into that silly cultivation novel. Over there, a female disciple in a moon-white robe was shrinking slightly, appearing wronged, terrified, yet trying to appear strong. Seeing me look at her, she immediately hid behind the most imposing elder in the center. Her slender white fingers instinctively clutched the corner of the elder's sleeve, her voice choked with sobs, low but audible to the entire hall. Master, please don't punish senior brother too harshly. Perhaps senior brother just needed it urgently, and that's why he took my pill. Disciple doesn't mind. TSK, what a magnificent white lotus. The elder in the center was clearly Xiao Qiyu's master in the original story, Xianming Zhenren, vice sect leader of the Clear Void sect. Hearing this, the look in his eyes as he gazed at me became increasingly pained and disappointed. Qiyu. Xianming Zhenren's voice was low and heavy. Che saw you take the pill from his room with her own eyes. There are witnesses and evidence. As the sect's chief disciple, a tribulation transcendence realm expert, you would commit such a petty theft, bully a younger sister. You've disappointed me greatly. What do you have to say for yourself? The elders on both sides shook their heads, sighs filling the air. The disciples' whispers were even more difficult to suppress. I never thought senior brother was this kind of person. He's usually so aloof and superior, but turns out he's so despicable behind the scenes. Junior brother is so pitiful. I finally understood the situation, but my brain felt a little overloaded. I pointed at that magnificent white lotus and asked, I'm a tribulation transcendence realm expert, and you want me to apologize to a Foundation establishment cultivator? Are you serious? Xianming Zhenren's face turned ashen, and the aura of a tribulation transcendence realm expert uncontrollably filled the air, almost solidifying the entire hall. Evil creature. The evidence is irrefutable, and you still want to quibble? High cultivation is not a license to be unruly and bully fellow disciples. Wrong is wrong. Apologize to Che immediately, hand over the pill, receive 300 spirit-striking whips, and face the wall at Reflection Cliff for 100 years. The elders on both sides, though not directly scolding, also cast down their disapproving gazes and pressure, echoing the sect leader. That's right, senior brother. High cultivation doesn't mean you can do whatever you want. Theft is theft. What does it have to do with cultivation? We implore senior brother to confess and accept punishment. The disciples below were even more impassioned, as if I had committed some heinous crime. I looked at them, each righteous and indignant, as if standing on the moral high ground, yet turning a blind eye to the obvious and ridiculous frame-up. I just don't understand, how could the original owner, with a tribulation transcendence realm cultivation, actually reason with them? I took a light breath and slowly opened my mouth. So, Everyone, my gaze swept across those seated high above. Let me confirm this once more. You want me, Tribulation Transcendence realm expert, to apologize and confess to a Foundation Establishment disciple for a bottle of Foundation Establishment pills that are nothing more than garbage to me? An elder with a fiery temper slammed a hand on the armrest. So what if we do? Before reason, even the highest cultivation must bow. Shao Qiyu, stop trying to wriggle out of it using your cultivation. Wriggle out of it. I tilted my head slightly, as if hearing some amusing joke, a cold arc appearing at the corner of my mouth. I'll ask one more time. My gaze returned to Xianming Junren's face, each word clear and distinct, echoing through the silent hall. Is there a stronger existence than a Tribulation Transcendence realm expert in our Clear Void sect, or even in this entire 9 provinces continent? It's best to be cautious. Although I've read the original story, I only read a portion. I don't know the situation of the entire sect or the entire 9 provinces continent. What if someone stronger forces me to be reasonable? The question was raised, and there was a moment of deathly silence in the hall. Then, Xianming Junren's brow furrowed tightly. Shao Qiyu, has your cultivation gone to your head? Tribulation Transcendence realm is already the limit of this realm, a half-step immortal realm. In all of the 9 provinces, no one can surpass you. But what does that have to do with the mistake you've committed? Stronger individuals should cultivate self-restraint and protect the weak, not. I see. Since there is no one stronger. I slowly raised my hand, the movement seemingly casual, as if to brush off dust from the corner of my robe. Then, by what right do you judge me? My gaze suddenly locked onto Bai Che, who was hiding behind Xianming Junren, her face still tear-stained, but with a hint of smugness and malice quietly flitting across her eyes. By this ridiculous sect rule, a finger lifted slightly. By your pitiful cultivation, or by you? A muffled sound exploded instantly, at the focal point of all eyes, in the instant before Bai Che herself could react. The portion below his waist, without warning, instantly turned into a cloud of thick blood mist. Bai Che immediately let out a shrill scream. 1 second he was a complete person, and the next, only half a mutilated body thudded heavily onto the cold ground, blood soaking the white jade bricks like splashed ink, a thick, bloody stench spreading rapidly. In the entire clear void hall, time seemed to be completely frozen. The angry expression on Xianming Junren's face froze, his pupils shrinking to pinpricks. The raised fingers of the elders solidified in midair, the muscles on their faces as stiff as stone carvings. All the disciples below, the anger, contempt, and gloating on their faces, all disappeared, leaving only boundless fear and blankness. Many opened their mouths, but no sound came out, as if an invisible hand had seized their throats. Silence. A dead silence. I stood in place, as if having done something insignificant, dusting off non-existent dust, my voice still calm. Now, is there anyone else who wants me to admit my mistake? As soon as I said this, the people below remained silent. After all, they had all clearly seen Bai Che's fate. In this extreme oppression and fear, a woman in a light cyan dress suddenly stood up. She had a beautiful face and a gentle, water-like temperament, but now she was trembling slightly with anger and disbelief. She was the female lead, Lu Qingyi, from the original novel. To highlight the female lead's fearlessness of power, she was the one who stood up to solidify the original owner's crime. It's just that variables have appeared, causing her to stand up now. Later, she discovers that Bai Che slandered the original owner, so she asked the vice sect leader to kill Bai Che to avenge the original owner, once again buying a wave of righteousness. In the original novel, the original owner cared for her in every possible way, and even repeatedly tolerated Bai Che's provocations because of her. She stood up at this moment, perhaps certain that Shao Qiyu would still show her leniency as he had in the past. Senior brother, how could you do this? Lu Qingyi pointed at Bai Che in the pool of blood, her face full of anger. Even if Junior Sister by has 10,000 faults, you shouldn't have resorted to such a cruel hand. Mutual killing among fellow disciples is a great taboo of the sect. You have heaven-reaching cultivation, so you should be compassionate. How could you be so tyrannical? The more she spoke, the more agitated she became. She seemed to have gained courage from my silent attitude. Her voice suddenly rose sharply, laced with her usual accusations. Quickly kneel down and apologize to Junior Brother Bai. Immediately use your divine power to heal him, and then pass on your cultivation to him as compensation. Otherwise I will never forgive you, and the sect will never. I picked up my ear, annoyed by the sound, and once again casually waved my hand. Another muffled explosion. Lu Qingyi's voice stopped abruptly, transformed into a cloud of blood mist. Unlike Bai Che, I did not spare her life, but directly killed her. In the entire clear void hall, even the sound of breathing completely disappeared. If Bai Che's crippling made them feel fear and shock, then Lu Qingyi's instant demise completely and unreservedly destroyed all their cognition, beliefs, and Zhaoxing. The senior sister they looked up to so much was just gone, like crushing an ant, even faster than that and more traceless. I slowly retracted my gaze, as if having casually swatted a buzzing fly to death. Is there anyone else who wants to reason with me? Or... My gaze slowly swept across the entire hall, and everyone I looked at couldn't help but tremble violently, some even collapsing to the ground with limp legs, foul-smelling liquid soaking their Taoist robes. Wants to teach me how to do things. Oh, Qingyi, my disciple. An elder in a black robe on the left suddenly let out a shrill and grief-stricken roar, his eyes instantly bloodshot, staring intently at me, the originally composed aura around him suddenly becoming violent and chaotic. He was Lu Qingyi's master, the head of Jade Balance Peak, Mingjue Jinren. His beloved disciple was crushed into powder before his very eyes, without even a trace of her remaining soul. This huge impact and grief instantly overwhelmed his reason and surpassed that instinctive fear. Xiao Qiyu, you demon, return my disciple's life. Mingjue Jinren roared, the majestic spiritual power of the early tribulation transcendence realm erupting without reservation, his deep black Taoist robe moving without wind, fluttering wildly. He pointed his fingers like a sword, a fierce sword light that condensed his life's cultivation and carried a destructive aura, tore through the air and pierced straight towards the center of my brow with a piercing shriek. This strike was launched in anger, as fast as lightning, with terrifying power, as if to split the clear void hall in two. The disciples on both sides were thrown off balance by the sudden, terrifying pressure. Those with weaker cultivation bases even spat out blood and collapsed to the ground, weakened. Realist Xuanming's expression changed drastically. He closed his eyes, seemingly already anticipating the end. I merely glanced at him indifferently, without even a starting stance, just a thought. That blazing sword light, enough to make ordinary tribulation transcending cultivators prepare with utmost caution, stopped 3 feet away from me, as if it had crashed into an invisible, intangible, yet indestructible barrier. A soft sound like a bubble bursting. That sword light, condensing all of realist Mingjue's power and anger, didn't even stir a ripple before it silently annihilated and dissipated, as if it had never existed. Realist Mingjue's charging figure suddenly froze. The frenzied look on his face solidified, replaced by a trace of confusion and disbelief. But I had lost my patience. In that instant he paused. I gently blew a breath at him, like blowing away a wisp of dust. A breeze that seemed gentle and weak, yet contained endless laws of destruction, brushed across realist Mingjue's body. Time seemed to freeze again. The confusion on realist Mingjue's face hadn't faded when his body, starting from the sword fingers he had conjured, then his arms, torso, head, legs. In being, Disinga. No explosion, no blood. Like a sand sculpture blown away by the wind, his flesh, bones, meridians, and even the nascent soul and nascent spirit he had painstakingly cultivated were all completely decomposed into the finest particles and dissipated in the wind with that one breath. Even the Taoist robe he wore and the magic treasures he carried turned into nothingness. A tribulation transcending master who had shaken the 9 provinces and enjoyed fame for hundreds of years, the chief of J Balance Peak of the Pure Void Sect. Just like that, blown away by my one breath. Completely and utterly, body and soul destroyed, leaving no trace in the world. Realist Xianming and another elder's faces instantly lost all color upon seeing this, replaced by shock and disbelief. Monster! How dare you? One red-faced elder, his hair and beard bristling, suddenly stood up, his mid-tribulation transcending pressure combined with Hitan rage pressed toward me. Harming fellow disciples and elders, the evidence is irrefutable, and yet you dare to speak so arrogantly. Immediately abolish your cultivation, kneel and beg for forgiveness, and perhaps you can leave a wisp of your remnant soul for reincarnation. Abolish my cultivation? Beg for forgiveness. I seem to have heard the most ridiculous joke in the world, and a cold arc appeared at the corner of my lips. I didn't even bother to look at their hypocritical, self-righteous faces. Explain? Argue. What was there to say to a group of people about to die? I didn't even bother to bestow them with a single word. I directly raised my hand and waved it forward with extreme ease. Great wilderness, sky, imprisoning palm. The moment my palm was swung out, the entire pure void hall and even the sky above it suddenly darkened. A terrifying pressure instantly descended. All the disciples in the hall couldn't even let out a cry before being crushed to the ground by this heavenly might, their bones creaking and blood slowly seeping from their orifices. In the sky, the clouds were frantically swirling backward, and a giant, incomparably large, sky-covering energy palm condensed out of thin air. The palm had clear lines and contained destructive power enough to shatter mountains and rivers and annihilate stars. The moment it appeared, the space began to twist and crack, emitting wails of unbearable weight. This was the fury from a peak tribulation transcending expert. What? No. On the high platform, the anger on realist Xianming and the 2 elders' faces was instantly replaced by boundless fear and despair. The 2 of them roared frantically, using all their life's cultivation, the spiritual power in their bodies erupting without reservation, magic treasures, talismans, protective barriers. All the life-saving methods they could use were activated to the extreme in an instant, and brilliant lights intertwined, trying to resist this world-destroying blow. Evil disciple, how dare you attack your teacher? Aren't you afraid of being ostracized by the continent? I smiled. I am at the peak of tribulation transcending. Who else in the entire 9 provinces dares to ostracize me? As I spoke, I increased the strength in my hand. Although peak tribulation transcending and mid-tribulation transcending were only 2 small realms apart, the gap was still worlds apart, although they had both used all their trump cards. Unfortunately, it was meaningless. In the face of absolute power, their struggle was like an ant trying to shake a tree, ridiculous and pathetic. The giant palm did not even pause slightly, carrying a coldness that disregarded everything, and slammed down with a roar, a dull to the extreme sound, as if the heart of the entire world had skipped a beat, exploded. The high platform, along with the 3 beings on it who were known as the Pure Void Sect's highest combat power, instantly disappeared without a trace under this palm. Not blasted away, not shattered, but directly crushed into the most primordial particles, completely annihilated, not even leaving a speck of dust. The giant palm dissipated, and the smoke and dust gradually settled. The once solemn Pure Void Hall's main hall had disappeared, along with the high and mighty judgment seat, completely erased from the world, leaving only a bottomless, huge palm-shaped ruin. On the square, The remaining elders and disciples were, as if their souls had been drawn out, slumped on the ground, trembling. The heavy stench of blood and the aura of death pressed down on them, suffocating them, and no one dared to look up at the figure standing in front of the ruins. I indifferently swept my gaze across the audience. The faces that had been righteously indignant and loudly criticizing just moments before now only had paleness and sluggishness left. It seems that no one needs me to admit my mistake, I said calmly, my voice not loud, but it clearly entered the ears of every survivor, like the tolling of a death knell. Finally, an elder who looked slightly older, with a cultivation base in the transformation god realm, struggled to get up from the ground. His Taoist robe was disheveled, his face covered in dust and blood, and he trembled as he bowed deeply to me, his voice hoarse and broken, filled with unprecedented awe and fear. Senior, no, Your Honor, the Venerable One's divine power is unmatched and insightful. It was that cheap slut by Che who framed the Venerable One. It was Mingjue and Xianming who were Huan Kui incompetent, offended the Venerable One, and deserved to die. We were blind, deceived by villains, and almost wronged the Venerable One. Please forgive us, Venerable One. Please forgive us, ah. His words were like lighting a fuse. The surviving elders and disciples woke up as if from a dream, and the instinct for survival overwhelmed everything. They struggled to kowtow and beg for mercy, their voices mixed with sobs, incoherent. Venerable One, please forgive us. It's by Che's fault. She framed you. The sect master and the others were muddled. They deserve to die. Please, Venerable One, spare our lives. Spare our lives? Ah. I looked at the people below and couldn't help but sneer. Humph. You know you're wrong now? What were you doing just now? Saying that I was about to gather spiritual power again. Seeing that I had no intention of letting them go, one of the transformation god realm elders suddenly pointed at my nose and threatened me. Xiao Qiyu, don't think you're so great just because you're at a higher realm. Xiao Qiyu, you残害同门，泯灭人性. Just you wait. When the sect master comes out of seclusion, the sect master is in seclusion to advance to the peak of tribulation transcending. He will never let you go. You will definitely pay the price for what you have done today. My movement stopped. After he reminded me, I remembered that there was indeed a sect master in seclusion. Later, the sect master came out of seclusion and even accepted the heroine as his personal disciple because of her fearlessness of power. When I saw this, I was stunned. Shouldn't the sect master choose disciples based on aptitude? I looked at the elder who said the sect master's name and said kindly, Oh, right. How could I forget that there's also the sect master? What should I do? That elder seemed to really think I was afraid and actually threatened me again. Humph, it's good that you're sensible. Quickly kneel down and apologize to us, and then abolish your cultivation and go to the cliff of repentance. Maybe the sect master will let you go when he comes out otherwise. Before he could finish speaking, I struck a palm towards the direction where the sect master was in seclusion. Great wilderness sky, imprisoning palm. A loud noise came, and the cave where the sect master was in seclusion was instantly razed to the ground, leaving only ruins. That elder was so shocked by this sudden change that he couldn't speak and could only point at me and murmur, You, how dare you? I didn't waste time with him, and with a flick of my sleeve, that elder also instantly exploded into a mist of blood. However, in the next second, a figure flew out of the sect master's cave. It was the sect master. His expression was angry, and he shouted loudly, Who is so bold as to dare to disturb this venerable one? The disciples below, seeing that the sect master had come out, immediately asked him for help. It's the sect master. Great! Sect master, quickly save us. Senior brother, Tan Hai Tongmen. You quickly execute him on the spot. Listening to the accusations below, I shook my head. It seemed that these people were really a bunch of idiots. At this time, they actually dared to anger me. The sect master also heard the voices below. He looked at me and asked angrily, Xiao Qiyu, What exactly is this? Xiao Qiyu. Profound heaven realist's voice was like thunder, containing great anger and incomprehension. What exactly is going on? You. Before he could finish speaking, I had already moved. I didn't understand. Why waste words? Now that I had already made a move, I would cut the grass and eliminate the roots forever. He had just broken through, and his realm was unstable. Now was the best opportunity. The spiritual power around my body erupted without reservation. The pressure of the peak of tribulation transcending was like a tangible tsunami, instantly sweeping the entire pure void sect's mountain gate, even more condensed and terrifying than profound heaven realist aura that had just entered this realm. I used my fingers as a sword, and a sword chi condensed to the extreme tore through the sky, directly stabbing towards profound heaven realist's face. Profound heaven realist's pupils shrank suddenly. Obviously, he didn't expect that I would be so decisive and ruthless, and I would directly attack him without saying a word of defense. He was shocked and angry, and with a loud shout, "Evil disciple, how dare you deceive your master and destroy your ancestors?" In a hurry, he fully circulated the spiritual power that had just broken through and was still slightly floating, and a jade ruler flowing with 7-colored light flew out from between his eyebrows. It grew in the wind and transformed into a thick light wall in front of him. This was his life-bound magic treasure, measuring the sky ruler, which was infinitely powerful. The gray sword chi and the 7-colored light wall collided fiercely, making a deafening loud noise. Terrifying energy shockwaves spread in a ring, leveling the ruins below again, and the remaining elders and disciples were blown away like leaves in the wind, and screams were endless. A subtle but clear cracking sound rang out. In profound heaven realist's unbelievable gaze, the light wall transformed by his life-bound magic treasure, measuring the sky ruler, was actually cut out with a crack by that gray sword chi. His magic treasure was damaged, and under the traction of the chi, profound heaven realist immediately spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face instantly turned pale. Impossible. How can you be so strong? He was horrified. My strength far exceeded his expectations. I sneered, saying nothing, but my attacks came one after another like a storm. Great wilderness, sky-imprisoning finger, nirvana, heavenly lightning, void handprint. All kinds of terrifying divine abilities were readily at my fingertips. Every strike aimed straight for his vital points, forcing him into a flustered state, only able to rely on the measuring heaven ruler to barely resist. But the cracks on the magical artifact grew more and more, and his aura became increasingly weakened. He possessed only the realm of the peak of the tribulation transcendence, but lacked the matching control and foundation. Before my old peak, he was full of flaws. It's over. I spoke indifferently, seizing a flaw in his breathing, my figure appearing behind him as abruptly as a ghost. Great creation palm. A palm struck his back. This palm seemed light and fluttering, but it contained all my destructive laws and boundless spiritual power, penetrating his body. Real person Xuantian's body stiffened suddenly, and his forward momentum stalled. He lowered his head with difficulty, looking at his chest. A transparent palm print pierced through, and the meridians, dantian, nascent soul, and even the newly condensed immortal spiritual energy within his body were shattered inch by inch, completely annihilated by this palm. So ruthless. The light in his eyes rapidly dimmed, filled with endless unwillingness, regret, and fear, and finally turned into complete ashes. The measuring heaven ruler let out a mournful cry, lost all its spiritual light, and fell from his hand. His body also fell powerlessly from the sky, crashing heavily into the ruined palm print below, kicking up a cloud of dust. Sect leader of the pure void sect, real person Xintian, had fallen. Below, those disciples and elders who originally held a glimmer of hope fell completely into the abyss of despair. Their last support, their invincible sect leader, was so easily killed by their senior brother, whom they had just been judging as easily as slaughtering chickens and dogs. Tremendous fear devoured everyone. Senior brother, no, Your Excellency, spare us. We were wrong. We were all deceived by Bai Che and Lu Qingyi. Your Excellency's divine power is invincible, shakes the universe. Please be magnanimous and spare us these ants. We are willing to make Your Excellency the new master of the pure void sect. No, the sovereign of the 9 provinces. Please, Your Excellency, have mercy. Cries, please, and kowtows rose and fell, without the slightest righteousness and sternness of before, only the most humble begging for life. I slowly descended from the sky, standing on the ruins, coldly overlooking this group of survivors kowtowing like garlic, a mocking arc appearing at the corner of my mouth. Now you know to beg for mercy? Where was the momentum when you wanted me to confess my crimes, submit to the law, and cripple my cultivation? Brotherly love? Sect rules? Justice and reason? With each question, my voice grew colder. Before this sovereign's absolute power, these are laughable and pathetic. I slowly raised my hand, and a small banner, as black as ink and surrounded by the wailing breath of countless resentful souls, appeared in my palm. The myriad souls banner. As soon as this banner appeared, the sky and earth instantly darkened, and the wind howled. Countless painful and distorted phantoms struggled and roared on the banner's surface, making scalps tingle. My icy voice was like a final judgment. Your reasons, your justice, along with your souls, will all become nourishment for this myriad souls banner. No! The people below let out a desperate roar. Seconds later, the entire sect was devoid of any living creatures. All of them were turned into ashes in my myriad souls banner. However, at this moment, I sensed a faint soul fluctuation. Looking in that direction, I indeed saw Lu Qingyi's soul hidden in a corner. As expected of the heroine, her life is indeed hard. A playful smile appeared at the corner of my mouth as I walked towards her step by step. Reaching the huge, mysterious ice jade brick, I didn't destroy it. I only slightly bent down, and my divine sense easily penetrated the barrier of the jade brick. Beneath the jade brick, a wisp of pink light, so faint as to be almost transparent and seemingly about to dissipate at any moment, was trembling slightly. In the center of the light was Lu Qingyi's illusionary face, shrunk countless times and covered with horrified cracks. She obviously sensed my arrival, and the soul light trembled even more violently, conveying an extremely pleading emotion. Oh, there's still a wisp of remnant soul left. I spoke softly. What tenacious vitality! The pink light flickered violently, seemingly wanting to escape, but it was firmly imprisoned in place by the mysterious ice jade brick and my divine sense. Senior, brother, no. Your Excellency, spare me. A barely audible, fragmented thought was conveyed, seemingly begging for mercy. I was wrong. Qingyi knows she was wrong. It was all Bai Che. He forced me to frame you. Please, for the sake of our past relationship, spare me this once. I am willing to be your slave. Relationship? It was like I heard something extremely ridiculous. What relationship is there between you and me? Is it the relationship that you valued my resources as the chief disciple and deliberately approached me? Or is it the relationship that you tacitly approved of or even encouraged Bai Che to provoke me again and again, and finally joined forces to frame me? My voice was calm, but it made Lu Qingyi's remnant soul so terrified that it was about to collapse. No, it's not like that. She was incoherent, her soul thoughts chaotic. Lu Qingyi. I interrupted her, my tone indifferent. Do you still think you are special? That the heavenly Tao will always leave you a glimmer of hope? Even fantasizing that with this wisp of remnant soul, you can still have a chance to be reborn and take revenge on me. Unfortunately, I slowly straightened up, shook my head, and spoke with a hint of pitying mockery. This sovereign is no longer the fool who would still reason with you. This sovereign also doesn't believe in the favor of the heavenly Tao. I raised my hand, and a wisp of dark flame that could burn away the souls of all things leaped up on my fingertip, the underworld ghost fire. I didn't want to suppress her into my myriad souls banner. She was a person favored by destiny, who knows what kind of trouble she might cause. For this sovereign, cutting grass means removing the roots. Not even a wisp of remnant soul, not even a trace of true spirit will be left. No. Lu Qingyi's remnant soul let out a last desperate roar. I flicked my finger lightly. The flames instantly surrounded Lu Qingyi, causing her soul to scatter. I had just put away the myriad souls banner and hadn't had time to appreciate the serene new look of the sect when several powerful auras approached rapidly and landed on the pure void sect's plaza, which had turned to ruins. There were 7 or 8 people, dressed differently, obviously important figures from several nearby sects, their cultivation mostly in the transformation god to integration stages. The leader was an old man with a goatee who looked like a sect master of some kind, his cultivation in the late integration stage. As soon as they landed, they were completely shocked by the scene before them. The bottomless giant palm print, the ruins of the main hall that had been completely erased, the terrifying energy fluctuations that permeated the air and had not yet dissipated, and Zakoko Coco 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 no 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 kitsuza, dense burato zatto pamitero zaya. All indicated that a one-sided, crushing massacre had just occurred here. What? What happened here? The goatee old man's voice changed, his face turning pale. Fellow Taoist Xianming, sect leader Xiantian, where are they? The people behind him were also facing a great enemy. They took out their magical artifacts one after another and looked around nervously. Finally, everyone's eyes fell on me, the only one still standing in the field, immaculate. One of the middle-aged men, wearing a star-patterned robe, suddenly recognized me and said in surprise, You are Shao Qiyu, the chief disciple of the Pure Void sect? Here. Was this attacked by a demonic giant? How could it be so tragic? Where are the others? Before I could speak, another sharp-eyed guy stared intently at the hand that I had just put away the myriad souls banner. Although he didn't see what it was, he captured the faint, not fully contained, sinister and evil soul power fluctuations. His face changed drastically immediately. Pointing at me, he shouted sharply, What a rich, evil soul aura! Isn't what he's holding the myriad souls banner, exclusive to the demon realm? This soaring soul energy, how many souls has he collected? Shao Qiyu, could it be that you colluded with the demonic path, acting as an inside collaborator, and slaughtered your own sect? As soon as these words came out, the group of people who came with him immediately caused an uproar and glared at me angrily. Their auras locked onto me, as if they would take action to eliminate the demons and defend the Tao at the slightest disagreement. Evil cultivator. He must be an evil cultivator, daring to massacre the sect. He deserves to die 10,000 deaths. Capture him, search his soul, and refine his spirit, and find out the truth. I picked my ears, feeling a little annoyed. It was only quiet for a while, and then a group of noisy flies came again. I was too lazy to explain. I just released a trace of the pressure of the peak of the tribulation transcendence. It was like a 10,000-high mountain crashing down, and like the endless depths of the sea instantly suffocating. The group of people who were still aggressive, just now, shouting to capture me, without exception, were all pressed to the ground by this unimaginable, terrifying pressure without the power to resist. Their faces were pressed against the cold ground, unable to move, and even breathing became extremely difficult. The anger and justice on their faces were instantly replaced by boundless fear and horror. Their eyeballs were about to pop out, filled with the words, "This is impossible." Peak of the tribulation transcendence. It's actually the aura of the peak of the tribulation transcendence, the limit of the 9 provinces continent, the legendary realm. The goatee old man's sect master was the most clever. He instantly understood everything. He desperately squeezed out a flattering smile that was uglier than crying, and shouted with all his strength, "Senior, Venerable One, spare us. We are blind. We offended the Venerable One." Misunderstanding. A huge misunderstanding. Oh, misunderstanding? Didn't I slaughter the entire sect with a myriad souls banner? While he was speaking, he frantically winked at his companions who were still being suppressed. How is that possible? It must be some reckless demonic path attacking the Pure Void sect. Thanks to Venerable Shao for turning the tide and using his supreme cultivation to exterminate all the invading demons, preserving the moral integrity of the sect. The Venerable One's divine power is unparalleled, and he is a model for our righteous path. We admire him immensely. The others reacted instantly. Their desire to survive reached the max, and they echoed in distorted voices. Yes, yes, yes. Sect leader Liu is absolutely right. It must be an attack by demonic cultivators. The Venerable One destroyed the demons alone. It is truly the blessing of the 9 provinces. Thank you, Venerable One, for eliminating this great scourge for our cultivation world. Then what about my myriad souls banner? I spoke slowly, and the pressure increased a bit. The elder wiped the sweat from his brow again, and said, tremblingly, "What myriad souls banner? Isn't that the yellow human banner? The primordial purple chi? I didn't see it wrong. It's so purple that it's black, which shows how profound the Venerable One's luck is." Looking at their pre-haughty and then respectful appearance, desperately trying to make amends, I found it a little interesting. I slowly withdrew my pressure. As soon as the pressure dissipated, a group of people collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath. Cold sweat had already soaked their backs, and their eyes were filled with the joy of surviving a catastrophe and awe that penetrated their bones. "Well, you are very sensible," I commented lightly. "The story is also quite reasonable." Hearing this, everyone felt as if they had been granted amnesty, and a flattering smile just appeared on their faces. However, at this moment, a young man in the crowd, who had been hanging his head and exuding an aura of sadness and anger, suddenly raised his head. He had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes, and looked quite decent. His cultivation was also quite good among the younger generation, reaching the peak of the nascent soul stage. At this moment, his eyes were bloodshot, staring at me intently, and his voice was trembling with anger. "That's not right. Where's Qingyi? Where's Lu Qingyi? The soul protection jade I gave her just broke. Xiao Qiyu, you tell me, did you harm Qingyi?" Oh, I raised my eyebrows. This should be Lin Fan, the male lead in the original novel, who had a childhood sweetheart with Lu Qingyi and was called the leader of the younger generation because of his talent, right? I didn't expect this love brain to be quite minoi sensitive. The goatee Lu sect leader next to him was frightened out of his wits. He quickly grabbed Lin Fan and shouted in a low voice, "Lin Fan, shut up. Don't talk nonsense and offend the Venerable One." The people from other sects also changed their faces and hurriedly dissuaded him. "Junior nephew Lin, you are confused. Junior niece Lu must have been harmed by a demonic cultivator. The Venerable One has already avenged her. Quickly apologize to the Venerable One." But Lin Fan was like a madman, throwing off Lu's sect leader's hand. He pointed at my nose and roared with grief and anger. "Master, you are afraid of him. I am not afraid. Qingyi had already sent me a message saying that Xiao Qiyu had ulterior motives towards her and held a grudge after she sternly rejected him. Now that Qingyi's soul jade is broken and the sect has been destroyed, only he is standing here unharmed. If he didn't do it, who else could it be? Xiao Qiyu, you hypocrite, true demon, return Qingyi's life to me." He roared, and even burned his essence and blood at all costs, offering a long sword with flowing light, turning into a swift ray and stabbing at me like a mad dog. Fool! I shook my head. Even his master, that loose sect leader in the late integration stage, was frightened out of his wits and knelt down directly. Venerable One, please calm down. My disciple is ignorant and his mind is blinded by love. Please forgive him. A soft sound. I didn't even finish speaking. I just flicked my finger casually at Lin Fan, who rushed over, like flicking away a truly annoying fly. Lin Fan's rushing figure abruptly froze in midair. The crazed expression on his face solidified. Then, starting from the center of his brow, a crack instantly spread throughout his entire body, like exquisite porcelain shattering. His whole being, along with that long sword of his that looked quite decent, disintegrated into the finest dust in the terrified gazes of everyone present. With a gust of wind, nothing remained. The world fell silent once more. Only the chattering of teeth from sect leader Liu and the others could be heard. I flicked my fingers, as if having done something trivial, and glanced over the group of people who were silent as cicadas in winter. I said mildly, "Is there anyone else who wants to be a romantic hero?" We wouldn't dare. We wouldn't dare. Sect leader Liu took the lead, kowtowing frantically. That rebellious disciple Lin Fan colluded with the demonic path, his mind already corrupted by demonic energy. He actually dared to slander the Venerable One. He deserved to die. He deserved to die. Many thanks to the Venerable One for cleansing our sect. I nodded in satisfaction. It seems everyone here understands reason. Since matters here are concluded, then. Before I could finish speaking, sect leader Liu immediately interjected. Venerable One, rest assured, today, the Qingshu sect was ambushed by the demonic path. The entire sect fought valiantly to resist, and in the end, the Venerable One powerfully slew the demonic head. Alas, Deputy Sect Leader Xianming, Sect Leader Xintian, and the various elders all fought bravely and sacrificed themselves for the Tao. It is a great tragedy for our righteous path. We will certainly spread the Venerable One's heroic deeds throughout the 9 provinces, causing 10,000 cultivators to admire you. The others quickly followed suit, vowing to make the story complete and beautiful. I didn't bother paying them any further attention. With a flash of movement, I disappeared from the spot, leaving behind only a group of survivors collapsing on the ground, looking at the scene of carnage before them, staring blankly at each other, cold sweat streaming down their faces. Only one thought remained in their minds. The heavens of these 9 provinces are about to change, and this newly advanced, peak stage tribulation transcendence, whose killings are arbitrary and completely unreasonable, must absolutely, positively not be provoked.